Thank you and good afternoon. So today, June 1st, we're updating on the two reporting periods from our last meeting, which is Saturday to Sunday. And between that period of time, we had 9 new people who tested positive for COVID-19. And then again, from Sunday to this morning, there were an additional 15 cases who tested positive for COVID-19. So that's 24 new test positive cases in the last 2 days, bringing our total to 2,597 people in British Columbia. And that includes 904 in the Vancouver Coastal Health Region, 1,307 people in the Fraser Health Region, 127 in the Vancouver Island Health Region, 195 people in Interior Health Region, and 64 people in the Northern Health Region. This does tell us that there is still transmission of COVID in some of our communities around the province, and that we're not completely out of the woods yet. On another positive note, though, we've had no new healthcare outbreaks, and one has been declared over, and that's the outbreak at the residence at Clayton Heights. We have therefore 13 active outbreaks in our healthcare system, 12 in long-term care and assisted living, one remaining one in acute care, and we now have 556 cases associated with our healthcare facility outbreaks, and that's an additional 1 resident and 1 staff person. There are no new community outbreaks today, though obviously with the new cases, there's ongoing investigations. So that leaves us with 224 active cases as of this morning, of those of whom 32 people are hospitalized and 5 people are in critical care or ICU. We have had 1 additional death in the last 2 days in a long-term care home in Fraser Health. And our condolences go to the family and the care providers in the community of their loved one. 2,207 people have now fully recovered, so that's 85% of our cases who have tested positive in BC. As you know, the province-wide survey that we had, Your Story, Our Future, closed last evening at midnight, and 356,196 people in British Columbia completed the survey. So thank you to everybody who did that. This is important and valuable feedback that will help us understand the impacts that the restrictions and the pandemic and COVID have had on our communities across this province, and will help shape our reaction and our responses going forward. So as we know, there's a number of things that are happening in our communities around the world, in the United States and here in British Columbia over the past few days. And our Lieutenant Governor, the Honourable Janet Austin, has asked British Columbians to pledge to uphold the values of diversity, inclusivity and respect, and to oppose racism and hate in all forms. And I am honoured to join our Lieutenant Governor in making this pledge, and I encourage all British Columbians to do the same, and Minister Dix and I have pledged to do it together. So this Together pledge is our BC is inclusive and respects people of all ethnicities, cultures and faiths, and their contributions to our collective well-being. Our BC holds diversity as a fundamental value at the heart of the success, strength, and resilience of our communities, workplaces, schools, public and private institutions. I pledge to uphold and promote these values, and I commit to speaking up to oppose racism and hate in all its forms. Hate has no place in our province, and we have said that many times through this pandemic. And throughout this pandemic, we must continue to show the kindness and compassion that brings us together as a community. We know that British Columbians have been speaking up against racism, and I want to say I'm very pleased that this was done peacefully in British Columbia. Like all Canadians, I strongly believe in the importance of upholding our shared values of inclusion and tolerance and respect. Peaceful demonstration is our right, one that is important to all of us, but we cannot forget that we are still in the middle of a pandemic that is affecting our communities and our loved ones. Taking care of ourselves and each other is our responsibility, particularly to communities that are at greater risk of having devastating impacts of this pandemic. And we know that includes racialized communities. We know that includes our Indigenous communities. So out of respect for them, we must be careful in how we exercise our right to peaceful demonstration. I saw many people wearing masks and keeping their safe distances yesterday, and for that, I thank you. And I encourage anyone who may be demonstrating to also please continue to keep that safe distance, to recognize the importance of making sure that we are not allowing this virus a chance to spread. Weigh your options. Think about the impacts, particularly if you are a healthcare worker or have vulnerable people in your circle, in your household, in your family. We have seen many people around the world demonstrating at a distance, and it is very impactful and it is effective. Your message can still be heard clearly, no matter how far apart you stand. We know that that's a message of solidarity, not only for our fight against racism, but in our collective actions to prevent this pandemic from worsening. We also know that right now large gatherings remain very high risk, even outdoors. Those who were there yesterday, you may have put yourself at risk, and you may bring that back to your home. So you need to monitor yourself carefully over the next coming days to 2 weeks. And if you have any symptoms at all, you need to self-isolate, you need to get tested, you need to be sure that you're not contributing to further transmission of this virus. Today is also the start of Seniors Week, and taking care of our neighbors and those who are older in our communities is incredibly important. We know, and we have said this many times over the last few months, that our elders and seniors are vital to the well-being of our communities. They're the keepers of our history and, in many cases, our culture and language. Let's take the time this week, during BC Seniors Week, to honor our seniors by doing all we can to care for and to protect them. And I want to say thank you as well to the United Way and to the BC Seniors Advocate, Isabel McKenzie, and to the thousands of volunteers and people across this province who have reached out and provided support to vulnerable seniors in the recent weeks, to those people who are in your families, in your communities, or neighbors you may not have known before. Your efforts are making a difference, and we need to continue them. Today is also June 1st, an auspicious day on many other fronts. It marks the restart of a number of additional Phase 2 activities, including this morning our K-12 schools reopened to limited in-class learning, and we've heard many positive things, and I understand about a third of children returned to school this morning in the K-5 age group, and so that's great. Transit is now fully operational, and we know precautions continue to be in place, and provincial parks are now open to camping across the province, open to people from BC. I understand it's been a good day so far, and the school reopening, as you know, was purposefully timed so that we were at the end of our first incubation period, and we've been slowly and cautiously proceeding with our restart. We have been monitoring things closely, and precautions and safety measures are in place in schools around the province, and we are ready for this. I have confidence in knowing that we will continue to monitor carefully and to support our school communities around the province, and public health teams are ready to jump in should we need to. We are all in this together, and as many people return to work, many are also returning to transit, as we know. If you are using transit, we do encourage you to wear a mask. Transit systems are fully operational. There are still limits, and we have worked through with them limits on people who can access or who can be on a bus at any one time. But we know that safe physical distancing may be a challenge during certain times of the day, and that is where a medical mask can help for those short periods of time where you might be within somebody else's safe space. We also know that not everybody can wear a non-medical mask, And for those people, we encourage you to use those non-peak hours where the chances of being within that space of somebody else are lessened. The start of the camping season also means we can expand our time outdoors to include the many nearby and beautiful BC camping locations. But no matter where your summer adventures are be, remember you need to stay home if you're not feeling well, and you need to stay away from others. No exceptions, and that goes across all of our restart programs. And we need to continue to take these precautions that we have been taking that have worked to keep our families and our communities safe. To keep this pandemic of COVID-19 at bay, we need to stay slow, start with a low number of people, that fewer faces and bigger spaces still applies and is more important than ever as we are increasing our connections through going to school, through going back to work, through going out to our parks. A slow and gradual return ensures that we continue to keep our curve flat and that we can continue to respond effectively and protect our loved ones and ourselves. Now more than ever, we need people in BC to be tolerant, to be kind, to be calm, to be safe. In our schools, on our buses, on the streets of our community, and while enjoying everything that we have here in British Columbia.